day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 7 English lesson on pronouns. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts. Grade 7. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of pronouns. All right. So our chapter is pronouns. Our subject is English Language Arts. Grade 7. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on with under pronouns is actually quite a few lessons that we are going to be doing, and that's going to take about like 3 of our sessions. So today we're going to do 3 of the lessons. In our next, when we meet again, we're going to do another 3, and then thereafter we will do another 3 of the lessons, right? Because it's quite a lot. So for today, the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under pronouns is to identify pronouns. It's to use the pronoun that agrees with the antecedents. And to choose between subject and object pronoun. All right. So a pronoun, right? So now we're starting. So a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun or a noun phrase, right? So a pronoun, it's a word that takes the place of a noun, or it takes the place of a noun phrase. So the noun or the noun phrase that the pronoun refers to, right? We call that the antecedent. All right. So also a pronoun, right? It must agree with its antecedent, right? So once again, before we continue, a pronoun, it is a word that takes the place of either a noun or takes the place of a noun phrase. The noun or the noun phrase that the pronoun refers to, right, is not the pronoun, but it refers to, right? We call that the antecedent. And the antecedent, it needs to agree with the pronoun, or the pronoun needs to agree with the antecedent, if that is how we can put it. So the pronoun needs to agree with the antecedent. And we're going to find out what the antecedent is, right? All right, so singular pronouns. So we can have singular pronouns as well as plural pronouns, right? So firstly, singular pronouns, it takes the place of singular nouns, right? And singular pronouns includes words like I, you, she, he, it, me, him, her, his, it's, my, and your. Those are singular pronouns, right? And the singular pronoun, it takes the place of the singular nouns. If we look at an example, right, of singular pronouns, right, it says Rachel is tired, even though she slept for 10 hours last night, right? So she is our pronoun, right? And we're referring to Rachel. So that noun or that noun phrase, right, that we are talking about, that is the antecedent, right? And the word she is our pronoun, and the pronoun must agree with our antecedent. So she refers to Rachel. So we say Rachel is tired even though she slept for 10 hours last night. Who slept for 10 hours last night? Rachel slept for 10 hours. So so we don't have to still say Rachel is tired even though Rachel slept for 10 hours. No, we are replacing the name Rachel with the pronoun she, right? So we are saying Rachel is tired even though she slept for 10 hours last night. And that is how our pronoun she, it basically agrees with our antecedents, right? Which is Rachel. All right, we continue. It says, surprisingly, my brother's my brother's basketball team won all of its games this season. So surprisingly, my brother's basketball team So we're talking about the basketball team. They won all of its games this season. So which means that it's, that's our singular pronoun that refers to the basketball team. So the basketball team that lost, that won, it's like won their games, right? So it says its games. And then we have another example which says, can you open this jar of pickles? Can you open this jar of pickles? I can't get it to open. So we're referring to, can you open the jar of pickles? The jar of pickles, right? I can't get it to open. So it refers to the jar of pickles. All right. Then we have plural pronouns, right? We spoke about singular pronouns, which refers to either one person or it refers to one thing, right? And our plural pronouns, right? It takes the place of a plural noun. So plural pronouns takes the place of plural nouns, or we can say it takes the place of nouns, right? And it's joined by conjunctions, which is and. It is joined by a conjunction, which is and. For example, okay, before we go into the example, a few common plural nouns, right, or plural pronouns, it includes words like we, you, they, us, them, our, your, and their, right? Those are plural pronouns. Can you guys see the screen now? Because I see purple from my side. Can you guys see the what's on the screen? I think it's back now. All right. Okay, there we're back. All right. So if we look at a few examples, right, then we can say my neighbors, right? We're referring to my neighbors. It's more than one person, right? So my neighbors spent the weekend at their cabin in South Lake Tahoe. Is it Ohio? Or Tahayo. Let's just say Tahayo, right? So which means that they, right, the pronoun they, it refers to or it agrees with my neighbors, right? Because remember we said that the pronoun needs to agree with the antecedent, which is the noun or the noun phrase. So they, like, refers to my neighbors. If we go on to the next one, it says, where are the cans of soup I just bought? They aren't in the cupboard. So they, we refer to the can of soup. So the cans of soup, we're talking about, we making mention, the pronoun is they. So they agrees with the cans of soup. Then the last one says, Izzy and I. Izzy and I, right? Remember there we have the conjunction. So there we have the conjunction, right? That joins that two nouns, which is Izzy and I. So Izzy and I spent all day on our science project. So this pronoun our, it agrees with Izzy and I, right? So that is basically pronouns, right? We have our singular pronouns, which takes the place of singular nouns. And we have plural pronouns, which takes the place of plural nouns or of nouns that is joined by a conjunction, which is and, right? Our pronoun, it needs to agree with the antecedent, right? And we said the noun or the noun phrase that the pronoun refers to is called the antecedent. All right. Now we're continuing. So when it also comes to pronoun, right? Pronouns, we can use subject pronouns and then we can also use object pronouns, right? So we have subject pronouns as well as object pronouns. And subject pronouns, right? We can use subject pronouns as the subject of a sentence or a subject of a clause. Subject pronouns, it tells us who is doing something, right? And our subject pronouns are usually at the beginning of the sentence. So once again, our subject pronoun, it is the subject of the sentence or the clause, and it tells us who is doing something. And our subject pronouns are usually at the beginning of a sentence. And subject pronouns, right? We can also use a subject pronoun after a linking verb. Like, for example, we can use a subject pronoun after linking verbs such as am, is, are, was, were, or be, right? And our subject pronouns are words like I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. That is our subject pronouns, which means that at the beginning of the sentence, when we, for example, write our sentence and then it's either going to start with I or you or he or she or it or we or they, because that is a subject pronoun. It's the beginning of the sentence or usually at the beginning of the sentence, right? And it tells us who or what is doing something. It's either I or it's you or he or she, it, we, or they that is doing something. And if we look at our sentence, right, or let's say our example, we can say, after finishing the experiment, I showed my teacher the results. So I showed my teacher the results. So I is our subject pronoun because we are referring to, it tells us who is doing something. I'm doing something. I'm showing my teacher the results. right? So I is actually the subject of the sentence, right? As you said, we added our introductory phrase, which is after finishing the experiment. Because I could also say, I showed my teacher the results after finishing the experiment. But we just started with after finishing the experiment, I showed my teacher the results. So I is the subject pronoun. And I is also the subject of the sentence, right? It tells us who is doing something. I am doing something. Yes, the next one says, yes, it was she who won the first place, right? And we can say that when it comes to our subject pronoun, right, then she is our subject pronoun. It says, yes, it was she who won the first place. Who won the first place? She won the first place, right? And yeah, she, it comes after our linking verb was, right? So the subject pronoun, right, of that sentence is she, and she is used after our linking verb, which is was. All right. So that is a subject pronoun now. And a subject pronoun is a subject of a sentence or a subject of the clause. And the subject pronoun, it tells us who is doing something, and it is usually at the beginning of a sentence. A subject pronoun can also be used after a linking verb, right? Like words like am, is, are, was, were, or be. Those are linking verbs, right? And the common subject pronouns are words like I, you, ye, she, it, we, or they, right? That is subject pronouns. But then we also have object pronouns, right? And we can use an object pronoun after an action verb, right? So you can also use an object pronoun after a preposition. So you can use this, and so just to clarify again, we can use an object pronoun after an action verb, and we can use an object pronoun after a preposition. And the prepositions are words like at, for, of, on, to, or with. That is like a few prepositions, right? The object pronouns, right, are words like me, it's you, him, her, it, us, and them. Those are object pronouns, right? And if we look at an example of an object pronoun, then it says, after finishing the experiment, my teacher showed the results, right? So who showed the results? My teacher. With the subject pronoun, I was the one who showed the results. I showed my teacher the results, right? That is a subject pronoun. But when it comes to the object pronoun, right, we can say my teacher showed me the results. And as we can see, the object pronoun, right? Sorry, it's not even me, my, it's me. Because it's me, sorry, because the teacher showed me the results. Sorry. So my teacher showed me the results. And if you look at me, right, me comes after our verb. This is an action verb, showed. So after finishing the experiment, my teacher showed me the results, which means that our object pronoun is me, and it is used after the action verb, which is showed. So even if we were to turn that sentence around, then we can say, my teacher showed the results to me, right? So me is our object pronoun, right? And then if we look at the word to, right? To is then our preposition. So our preposition. Because remember, we said that an object pronoun also comes after the preposition, or the object pronoun comes after the action verb. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, and we're going to identify pronouns and the antecedents. We literally just explained all of this. We even made an example of it, right? So we're going to go straight to our test. All right, so we need to select the pronoun whose antecedent is Sean and I. Did you hear about the time that Sean and I found a wasp nest in our garage? So Sean and I, we need to select the pronoun. Is the pronoun you that refers to Sean and I, or our that refers to Sean and I? So did you hear about the time that Sean and I found a wasp in our garage? Is it you? Is you the pronoun, or our the pronoun that refers to or agrees with Sean and I? All right. So if we want to select the pronoun, right, whose antecedent is Sean and I, and then we're going to say, sorry, it is our garage. So did you hear about the time that Sean and I found a wasp in our nest, right? So our is our pronoun. We now need to select the pronoun whose antecedent is my husband and I. When the family cat went missing, my husband and I distributed flyers around town. The very next day, our neighbor found her. So our pronoun, is it our or is it neighbor, right? That agrees with my husband and I. So is it our or neighbor? All right, so if we want to choose the correct one, we will say our refers to my husband and I. Hector and I meant to buy oranges, but they turned out to be tangerines. I guess we both think that oranges and tangerines look the same, which I also thought. So, Hector and I, the pronoun, is it we that refers to Hector and I, or they that refer to Hector and I? All right, and if we select the correct pronoun, it is we, because I guess we, which is Hector and I, thought or think that oranges and tangerines look the same. All right, so now we're going to use the pronoun that agrees with the antecedent, right? And we also went over this where we had to show that we know either our singular pronoun or our plural pronoun that refers to our antecedent, right? It's basically almost the same as the first lesson. So we're going to our test, right? Because this is also the same as the previous one where where our antecedent is in bold and it needs to refer to the pronoun that we are going to choose. So complete the sentence with the pronoun that agrees with the antecedent in bold. Mother Teresa first worked as a high school teacher before devoting, do we say devoting her life to working with India's poor, or before devoting his life to working with India's poor? So, Mother Teresa, what is the pronoun that refers to or agrees with Mother Teresa? Is it her or is it his? The pronoun, is it her that refers to Mother Teresa or his referred to Mother Teresa? All right, and if we select the pronoun that agrees with the antecedent in bold, which is Mother Teresa, then we will say before devoting her life to working with India's poor. So her refers to Mother Teresa. All right, so when Hillary Rodham Clinton was elected to the United States Senate in 2000, do we say she became the five lady, only first lady to have held national office? Or do we say her became the only first lady to have held national office? So we need to select a pronoun. Is a pronoun she, which refers to Hillary Rodham Clinton, or her refers to Hillary Rodham Clinton, the pronoun. And we will choose she. She agrees with Hillary Rodham Clinton. Then Candace volunteers at the hospital on weekends. So Candace, do we say she delivers flowers and other gifts to new mothers? Or do we say her delivers flowers and other gifts to new mothers? We need to select the pronoun either she or her that agrees with the antecedent in bold, which is Candace. All right, and if we choose the correct one, we'll say Candace volunteers at the hospital on weekends. She delivers flowers and other gifts to new mothers. So she is a pronoun that agrees with Candace. All right, my teammates and I always stretch and run laps before, do we say before we play soccer, or do we say before you play soccer? So my teammates and I always stretch and run laps before we play soccer or before you play soccer. So we need to choose either we or you as a pronoun that agrees with the antecedent in bold, which refers to my teammates and I. All right, and if we choose the pronoun that agrees with the antecedent in bold, which is my teammates and I, then we can say my teammates and I always stretch and run laps before we play soccer. So we is the pronoun that agrees with the antecedent, which is my teammates and I. All right, so we is correct. One more, and then we're going on to the next lesson or the next lesson's test. After skiing all day, my family and I sat in the lodge by the fireplace. The warmth of the fire made, do we say us, made your feel drowsy or made us feel drowsy? All right, so we say after skiing all day, my family and I sat in the lodge by the fireplace. The warmth of the fire made us feel drowsy because we're referring to us, which us is the pronoun which refers to or agrees with my family and I, which is the antecedent. All right. Okay, so now we're going to choose between subject and object pronouns, right? Remember, we said a subject pronoun. It is used as a subject of a sentence or a clause, and it's usually at the beginning of the sentence, and it tells us who is doing something. And then we have an object pronoun, right, which comes after an action verb or comes after a preposition, right? So we are now going to the test where we are going to choose between a subject pronoun as well as an object pronoun, right? And the reason why I'm skipping the explanations is because I gave an explanation about everything when we were on the whiteboard. So over here, I gave an explanation of subject pronouns, object pronouns, as well as singular pronouns, as well as plural pronouns, right? So we already did the whole explanation, and now we're just going straight to the test. We need to select the correct pronoun to complete the sentence. Everyone in the history class had read the document except for, do we except for he or except for him? So everyone in the history class had read the document except for, do we say him or do we say here? So we can say except for him, right? Because that is an object pronoun. I always rinse the dishes before I put them in the dishwasher or before I put they in the dishwasher. So we need to check the correct one. All right, so we can say I always rinse the dishes before I put them in the dishwasher. And when we gave Clayton a comic book for his birthday, so when we gave Clayton a comic book for his birthday, he thanked we or he thanked us. So he thanked we or he thanked us. All right, so we can say when we, right, when we gave Clayton a comic book for his birthday, he thanked us. Not he thanked we, he thanked us, and us refers to we. All right, let's do one more. The noise from the construction site distracted me from my homework or distracted I from my homework. So the noise from the construction site distracted, do we say it distracted me from my homework or do we say it distracted I from my homework? All right, and if we choose the correct pronoun, we can say that the noise from the construction site distracted me from my homework. So me is the pronoun. All right. So our chapter is pronouns, right? And we had to identify pronouns and their antecedents. And when it comes to identifying pronouns and their antecedents, the pronoun had to agree with the antecedent, which is either the noun or the noun phrase, right? And then we also had to choose between subject and object pronouns. And the subject pronoun comes to at the beginning of the sentence. It tells us who is doing the action. All right. And then our object pronoun, it comes after an action verb or it comes after a preposition. All right. So that is now the end of our lesson, grade 7. All right. Thanks for joining the class. Really hope that you do have an understanding, a better understanding of what pronouns are. Like I said, that if you look at this list, there is literally a long list of pronouns that we still need to do. So we did the first 3, and then next time when we see each other, we'll do the next 3, and then thereafter, the day thereafter, we will probably do the others. All right, so have a good evening, grade 7s. Right, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.